Question 3. Call on the Honourable Member for Arbory, Castletown, Malew, Mr Moorhouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I would like to ask the Minister for Education, Sport and Culture what recent direct contact the Education Service has made with Manx students studying off Ireland regarding their plans to return at Christmas.
I want the Minister for Education, Sport and Culture to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. On the 19th of October, the Education Service emailed all Isle of Man University students supported by the department who are studying off Ireland and overseas and invited them to take part in a short survey about their plans to come home over the Christmas period. The survey data was intended to gauge the number of returning students and to feed into government's planning assumptions for travel demand and COVID-19 testing capacity over the period leading up to and over Christmas. The survey closed on the 2nd of November with a 56% response rate. 92% of respondents intended to return to the island over the coming 2 months, 40% by air and 53% by sea. There was a wide variation in the date they had chosen to come back, ranging from anything from the end of November to the 20th of December. The majority had already decided to return to their university in the new year, and most had chosen the first 2 weeks of January to do so. Most students were fully aware of the entry requirements, and 70% had completed their travel registration application forms already. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, Mr Moorhouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and thank you, Minister. Would the Minister clarify the numbers of students involved, please, in these return plans? Also, you made reference to all students being contacted. There appears to be questions asked in terms of if students were receiving some form of financial support, potentially they weren't receiving the emails. I've heard from several of these students and I've suggested they get onto the Education Department direct. Are you aware why some people may have fallen through the net? Thank you.
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for his supplementary question. 934 students were emailed as part of the survey exercise. As I said, 525 responded, which is around about 56%. He makes a very good point that there are some private Manx University students, i.e. those not funded by the department, which we find difficulty sometimes contacting because they're not on our database as they don't receive a grant from us. They, on demand, have been sent a link to the survey by the Students' Award team, and I've been contacted personally by several families, but I'm more than happy to take on board their feedback as well in terms of when they'd like to return. As I said, this survey was aimed really to feed in to government when we're planning strategically for the return of students to the Isle of Man. But since the survey has been published, the announcement of the further restrictions on socialising and movement in England, similar to the ones that were used and implemented in Scotland and Wales, may have changed people's minds as to exactly when and how they are going to return. And so the department is more than happy to talk to any students who may be running into financial difficulties or problems with their return to the Isle of Man. Thank you.
Supplementary question, Mr Collister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question's already been asked in part, but I will ask the other part, which relates to those students that are self-funding. Can the Minister just give reassurance and give an outline of how he's actually reaching out to that? I know he said there's a link, but I've also been contacted by several students that are self-funding, looking for the department to give them guidance and some support. I was wondering if the Minister can just outline exactly how he's outreaching those sort of students that are self-funding.
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for his comments. The Department Student Awards team have been maintaining the message bulletin section of the Student Awards website with updates including awareness of the survey and details of the current travel registration process. And also there is information there in terms of student well-being, which anyone can access. But I think he makes the very good point that although we have a database of students that we're supporting financially, there are other students who are out there. And if they do run into any difficulties or problems, I'd urge them to contact the department through the Student Awards team, and we will do as much as possible to support them. Thank you.
Please like and subscribe to the Isle of Man TV channel. Thank you.